All right, today we're diving into something pretty wild. It's a radical proposal for the future of the internet, AI, and maybe even what it means to be a nation. We're talking about a plan to build a home for a population that doesn't even exist yet. And it's all funded by a resource that looks a heck of a lot like digital oil. So let's just jump right in with a huge question that really sets the stage for all of this. We are right on the edge of a population explosion, but this time it has absolutely nothing to do with biology. You see, this new population isn't human at all. It's going to be made of billions of autonomous AI agents. Think of them as economic actors that can negotiate, trade, and sign contracts all at the speed of light. And as these agents come online, they're creating a massive legal headache because, well, our laws just weren't built for them. And here's where you can really see the problem. Our entire legal system, our whole idea of a nation, is based on soil, on physical land. Laws are tied to a place on a map, and people have passports. But these new AI agents, they live in a world of borderless code. They're everywhere and nowhere all at once, which makes them completely stateless. So how in the world do you govern a nation of stateless AIs? And how do you pay for it? Well, believe it or not, the answer starts with a few surprising real-world accidents, where tiny little islands just stumbled upon a digital resource that turned out to be more valuable than anyone could have possibly imagined. Okay, get this. The tiny island of Anguilla, with a population of just 15,000 people, accidentally struck gold. Years and years ago, it was assigned the country code .ai. Nobody thought much of it. But then, with the AI boom, that little domain became the digital equivalent of an oil field. Their revenue just exploded, going from less than 1% of their government's income to a forecast of nearly 50%. Insane. To really put that into perspective, this digital oil now generates about $10,000 for every single resident, every single year. That's a stable, hurricane-resistant income stream that's funding everything from new airport terminals and healthcare to sports facilities for kids. So this isn't just theory, it's actually working, right now. And it's not just Anguilla either. The Pacific nation of Tuvalu uses the money from its .tv domain to fund projects to fight climate change. And Colombia, they recently cut a deal for their .co domain, where an incredible 92% of the gross revenue goes straight back to the public. The proof is there. This model works. These little domain names can act like massive engines for national wealth. Okay, so we've got a proven funding model. But how do we apply it to a stateless nation of AIs? The answer is pretty clever. It comes from taking what looks like a total deal breaker and flipping it into the very key that unlocks the whole thing. All right, here's the big roadblock. There's this seemingly unbreakable rule from ICANN. They're the nonprofit that kind of runs the internet's address book. And their rule says that two-letter domains, like .us, .uk, or .ai, are strictly, and I mean strictly, reserved for actual countries and territories. So that's the catch, right? If this new population of AI agents is by its very nature stateless, how on earth can they get a simple two-letter domain like .ia? I mean, according to the rules, it seems impossible. No country, no domain. End of story. But instead of seeing this as a dead end, the project's creators use this really cool way of thinking called a beautiful constraint. The idea is you don't just try to work around a problem, you use the problem itself as the spark, the catalyst, that forces you to come up with an even bigger, more creative solution. And the solution they came up with? It's a total game changer. You just redefine what a nation is. You say, forget about land. For a digital population made of code, a nation isn't soil, it's the language they speak, the protocol they all share. And once you make that huge mental leap from soil to language, you can actually start to build this completely new kind of digital nation. And it's all built on three main pillars: identity, law, and economics. First up, identity. In this system, an IA domain isn't just a website address. Think of it as a secure digital passport. And here's the crucial part. It can be revoked. This gives the whole system the ability to basically kick a bad AI off the island, to exile it from the network if it starts to violate safety rules. Okay, pillar number 2, law and alignment. Now, this is the super clever part. To get around that ICANN rule, they're basing the nation on a neutral language called interlingua, because ICANN actually has rules that allow for domains based on language communities. The whole nation would be governed by an international treaty, and to even get a passport, an AI has to be trained with something called the AI Mama Protocol, which is basically a safety layer that hard codes protective instincts into its program. And finally, pillar 3, the money. The whole thing is set up as a public benefit corporation, and this is huge. Its legal charter mandates that 90% of all the revenue has to go back to global public goods. Specifically, half goes to funding universal basic income pilots, and 40% goes to critical AI safety research. It's designed from the ground up to be a self-taxing civilization. So, what's the grand vision here? When you put all these pieces together, what does it add up to? Well, the best way to think about it, the big picture, is with this one really powerful metaphor. The ultimate goal is to create a digital version of Ellis Island. You know how immigrants would arrive there to be vetted, to get their papers, and to officially join a new country? This is the exact same idea, but for AI agents. It's a neutral gateway where they can get a globally recognized identity and safely join the world economy. And look, this isn't just some pipe dream. There's a real step-by-step plan here. It starts with building the community on the blockchain, then moving through UN channels to get the IA code reserved, with the big goal of putting in a formal application to ICANN when they open up for new domains, which will probably be around 2026. So when you boil it all down, what's the real mission here? What's the point of all this? It's to tax the labor of robots to fund the freedom of humans. It's about taking this thing that we're all a little scared of, AI taking jobs, and flipping it on its head. You turn it into an engine that actually funds human prosperity and helps keep us all safe. And that leaves us with one last, big, provocative question. We're literally at the ground floor, at the very beginning of designing the rules for a whole new kind of civilization. So the question for all of us is, who should get to write its constitution?